12th in the country in total defense, fewer than 300 yards allowed per game. Drones takes a deep shot, looking for Daquan Felton for a touchdown! 54 yards!
This one's not contested because he just uses his speed, just runs a straight go route, and then it is a beautiful ball by Kyron Drones. Couldn't hand it to him any better, and Virginia Tech is off to a good start.
And welcome back to Deep Boundary Corner Podcast with my partners, Brian Siegler, Jonathan Talley, and Shelton Moss. I'm Curtis Wilson. And this episode is brought to you by Dr. Jeremy Counts down at the Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg, your friendly neighborhood pharmacy located at 301 South Main Street. And right here at the top, we had to show that because we ain't had much to crow about in the first quarter of many games this year. But first possession, third play of the game, a bomb happens. Didn't see that one coming.
Up top.
I will take it.
All day long.
We hadn't seen a lot of deep stuff in a few games there, so it's nice to see us hit that big one. Really get off to a good start. Put their backs against the wall a little bit. Always like to do that at home when you got the crowd behind you.
Well, after taking them 3 and out and doing that, it was just like that. The crowd, which was already just absolutely insane on the whiteout Saturday night, just took it to another level. The place was never quiet. So we got a lot to talk about on a 38-21. It is a Tell the Truth Tuesday. We're going to tell a lot of good truths tonight, and not a lot of and some bads, but mostly good. But, want to tell you real quick, Rowdy for Robbie this week, not at home. Check out the pharmacy, $7 at Venmo. Got with Grayson. They will be back in Lot 1 next week for the homecoming Wake Forest game. So check that out. And before we get into the big stuff, let's talk about the commit. Did y'all see the basketball commit yesterday?
That was a pretty big one.
Big time.
Big time. So, Shelton, I don't know how much you got on him, but it's Ryan Jones, a 6'8" center, 225, out of Gainesville, Florida. He is a composite 97. He is a high 4-star. He is a top 70 player in the country. I think I read, correct me if I'm wrong, Shelton, the 4th highest rated player of all time that has come to Tech.
That is correct. 4th highest rated player of all time. And 6'8", you could play him at power forward, you could play him at center. Obviously pretty versatile and kind of fits the Mike Young mold of a big man. So it's a big time pickup for sure. Definitely
big time pickup. And then looking at the offer list here, I mean, he wasn't short. He had a lot of interest from a lot of different schools. Effectively, the Hokies beat out the Gators down there, which goes our way this time for once about a kid wanting to get away from home, right? In basketball, that is. So it's a good thing for basketball, but I wanted to hit that real quick because we are etching every day of the season. If none of y'all follow, what's his name? John
Rothstein.
John Rothstein. Every morning I wake up, that fool's counting down the clock to basketball season's almost here. And that's something we'll be taking a look at in the next or up this upcoming month, taking some basketball stuff. One other news and note, guys, if you didn't see this, Evan Watkins over 247 put this out, and I know they were close. Aiden Green, Braylon Johnson, Dante Lovett, Moose Phillips, and Caleb Woodson, the red shirts are gone.
They got a choice. No choice, man. Got to.
You got to, and also the thing is with those guys, and they're playing good roles. Like, Green's got a couple catches to be a freshman. Johnson and Lovett's playing, I think, every special team snap.
Mm-hmm.
So, any feelings on this, or, Tally said it had happened. Brian, any feelings on this?
I mean, the big thing for me, we're talking about Green. We talked about at the beginning of the season, he was going to be that kind of 5-6 role in the wide receiver room, and we're seeing Green kind of etch that role out for himself there. The others are just, we needed the depth, and that's where they are. And I mean, some of them have played well in its spots. I'd say especially Phillips is coming along, and Woodson's out there getting a lot of run, and obviously Johnson and Lovett have been kind of filling in at cornerback when we need them in there, and occasionally jumping back to safety when we got thin there. So I mean, it's just been necessity on the defensive side, but good to see a guy like Green kind of take that jump into that 5 and 6 role in the wide receiver room.
Sheldon, any thoughts on any of these guys? You know, is there one maybe of the bunch you've noticed with data, statistics to say, wish we could have held it, not burning him?
No, I mean, I think it's kind of hard to judge with young guys because you don't, first of all, you don't have the sample size really to make an accurate judgment, and you just don't know how they're gonna project in the future. So I tend to trust coaches with redshirt decisions. You know, it's not my place. They see them every day in practice, so you know, it's whatever they decide. I'm cool with.
Yep. Yeah, we are not the full TSL Chris Coleman redshirt everybody, because in some situations, you know, they're going to be Keontae Jenkins is a senior. You had to get Woodson or whoever won that between Woodson and I cannot think of the other kid's name from down in Petersburg. Cotman. You know, they were one of them going to get a ton of run this year. You just knew it was going to happen just because it had to happen. And then with the depth at cornerback, we said it, you know, 6 weeks ago, like these guys are going to get run. Like they're probably not going to be a red shirt for them. And then they played pretty good. So, you know, they're gone. I don't know who's the next one to be gone, but there probably is going to be a few more burned before the end of the season. So we shall see. All right. Well, let's get to it. Let's tell the truth Tuesday. Again, 38-21 win for the Hokies against the Pitt Panthers. The Pitt Panthers that came in with the 12th ranked defense in the country, total defense in the country, which was kind of, you know, same. They gave up less yards to UNC than they did us. I don't know.
That's crazy.
All right, but what went well? I'm gonna start this off because watching Lane Stadium Saturday night, she was mean. She was loud. It was intimidating. They had multiple false starts. You could tell that stadium was in the head, and it did not quiet the entire game. Even after big plays, kept being loud, kept disturbing them. And it's like it's that throwback, right? Like we always see it loud, but that's Saturday night. She was nasty.
It was loud, man.
Big, very loud. You know, seeing it on the shots, it looked like the whiteout looked better than I've seen it look anytime we've had the whiteout. So kudos to the fans for really leaning into that and getting that to look pretty incredible out there. But yeah, I mean, I thought the atmosphere was great. When we looked at what they were able to do on the field, though, the commitment to the running game, getting drones in the running game, but just leaning on the running game, we saw them kind of get a little bit of momentum last week, went away from it, came back late, hit it early and often this week. We're able to sprinkle some big plays in there that we hadn't seen before. So I think, you know, looking at that, those are two big things that I didn't expect against this Pitt defense.
Me either. Tally, I got a quick question for you. You know how many times we ran the ball Saturday night?
Man, I don't know. Probably, 65?
Close. 59.
Yeah.
59 at 3.4 carry.
Yeah.
And
if you'd have told any of us that we do that against any defense that we're playing,
especially
probably that first game, especially Pitt, we'd have said you lying. You know, he's just Bayshell Tootin he's a man. He was tired, man. You could tell he was sucking wind. He was punishing people after runs, but he continued to do it. He'd go on the sideline, he'd get him a little water, he'd get back in. Like it was good to see. You know, it takes us to the next point where Tyler Bowen called a pretty good game, man. Like his play designs, the play calls were actually pretty spot on. You know, all of us watching the game, a lot of times you're like, why are we running up the middle so much? Why are we doing this so much? I mean, he got people on the outside. He moved the pocket for drones. You know, he called the right quarterback draws at the right time. Like it was just good play designs, man. He did it. Kudos to him. I think he was ACC coordinator of the week, which
him
was
and Marv both.
Yeah, that was well deserved, man. Because I mean, going into that game, you know, the ACC network is there. Everybody loves Lane Stadium. Everybody loves the atmosphere. But I can say nobody expected what they seen on that field Saturday night. I know I didn't. I don't think any of the commentators did. I don't think any of y'all did. What you say, Curtis?
We definitely didn't. None of us did. I mean, we were effectively, it was one of those, nobody in this room, nor our guest last week picked the Hokies to win. We all had it close. We all had it close. But no.
Well, you got to go back. Mike did. Remember? Mike McDaniel did. He said this is going to be the week that we're going to put it all together and we're going to get Pitt. And I said, you're a liar. It ain't happening. Mike did pick them to win, though.
All right. So, Sheldon, I'm going to throw this to you, man, because I think you got the data there. If not, I know you can pull it up pretty quick. How many explosive runs and passes did we have on Saturday night? Because it seemed like we were getting multiple a quarter.
We did, yes. I'm pulling up in 1 sec. Also, just another note about the number of plays we ran. Part of the reason that we ran so many times is because we had the ball so long. I think we had 78 plays for reference. The average in a game is about 66. So we're plus 12 on the average, and I think we had 32 more plays run than Pitt did.
Wow.
So that kind of speaks to like how much we dominated.
That is crazy. That is crazy.
So yeah. So in terms of explosive plays, actually we did not have a huge amount. So I'm seeing 7% explosive play rate, which is about kind of around the 36th percentile. And then if you divide it up in terms of run pass, he had 4 big passing plays and then 1 big rushing play. So it wasn't so much the explosive plays as it was I would say, staying on schedule. Tech had a really good success rate, which I'm sure we can talk about, but they never got behind the sticks.
Yeah, no, we didn't. Money down conversions, we were 10 of 18. That's over 50%. You tell me we're 10 of 18 every game from here to the end of the season, I will take it. I don't care. I will take 10 of 18 every week on 3rd and 4th downs because, like you said, we sustain drives. We sustain drives. And I know in a little while here somebody's going to talk about TOP. He's got the exact number. But that was the impressive part. You talk about – you said 7%. Well, heck, when you go 7% of 70 plays, that's about 6 big plays. Yeah. And you're talking about one right out the bat, which immediately it took them a while to start bringing that safety back down into the box after they got burned once. They did not effectively. They like to play the guys up, and it's like you get burned once over the top because if y'all remember, that play was a go post route. The safety went with the post. Daquan beat his man over the top. What are you supposed to do? And the other thing, let's flip to the other side on defense real quick. 2 for 11 on money downs for Pitt.
What you love to see.
4 11. What'd you see, Brian, with that? What was going on with the stops that really made it successful on Saturday night?
Getting in Jerkovic's ass on those 3rd down plays. His new name is Filthy Field. That's what we're calling him on this show. I don't know what Lane Stadium does to him, but Filthy Field does not react good when he's in Lane Stadium. We talked about Bowen getting a tight asshole last week in that 2nd and 3rd quarter. Every time Phil Jerkovic lined up in Lane Stadium, he's got a tight asshole. I don't know what it is. It's like he forgets. I mean, he hasn't had it now. Granted, he has not had a great year playing quarterback in general, but he was in hell for 4 quarters. Yeah,
he was.
Yeah,
he was. Good. And I think
outside of 2 plays, he did nothing. Yeah, he was so nervous. If you go watch on the play where he pulled the ball, nobody was around him. He was still scared. I think the commentator said he didn't even realize nobody was around him. He hesitated. Like, go watch that play. He didn't want to take off. I don't know what the deal was, but
I talked a little bit last week. I was like, if Phil plays, I think he's still going to be a little bit gun shy. Yeah, and he looked a little bit gun shy out there.
He looked a little bit gun shy,
and then he would talk his shit like, what are you doing, man? Look at the scoreboard.
Well, one thing I can say, even on that clip that you showed at the beginning, and it wasn't just the quarterback, but it helps when it's the quarterback. Like, I don't want dickheads on the team. Well, I do want dickheads on the team. Yes, you don't want people to do
the right kind of dickheads.
You don't want people to do stupid stuff off the field. That's what I mean. But when drones hit that touchdown, hit Felton over the top,
you saw
all the way down the field. First of all, he hit the celebration, which is awesome. This is football. Have fun.
Yep.
He is passing people that he's going to have to hit all night. Linemen, they're going to hit you all night. He's talking junk. He goes up to the cornerback. He's pointing at him. We got you. It just looks like he's saying, you got your eyes in the backfield. We got you. And I was thinking, this can go one or two ways because a team like Pitt is very physical, mostly. You know, like that's what they're known for. But by the end of the game or middle of the game, they're helping drones up. They're tapping him on the helmet. He was punishing people after runs. Like, it was crazy to see the attitude that we took on. Like, where's that being? You know what I'm saying? Not just him, Tootin, you know, Felton. Everybody who was, even the linemen who weren't fucking blocking good had a nasty attitude. I'm all right with that. Dragging people, you know, you got people getting in the pile. When's the last time we pushed a pile? I'll wait.
What do I always say, Curtis? If you go fuck up full speed.
Man, we
fuck up full speed and hit somebody.
We're pushing the pile. We out there trying to make something happen. Like, just that attitude, man, was great to see. You know what I'm saying? Because I've seen it on defense a little bit. You know, I've seen some glimpses on defense, but offense is like, what are we doing, man? We're going in places. We're acting scared. But Saturday night, man, it was kudos to the fans. I think Alex said he was there. Alex, I love you and fuck you, because the game I went to was a hurricane and we didn't get to see lane hopping like it was when you was there. But man, I know it was awesome to see.
Well, yeah, definitely awesome to see, and it made a lot of things talk. I mean, it made a lot of, like you said, that energy went through. Because one thing we had mentioned was like, let's get pressure on Jacoby, sacking 4 times. Yeah. He got hit more. I mean, it was all night they were in the face. And the biggest piece of that is somebody who I didn't get to hear the interview today. Fladarius Payne's playing like a madman right now. I mean, his twitch, and Coach probably mentioned it today, how he comes off the ball when it's snapped, he shoots at, I mean, it takes me back to the days I'm thinking here. I always remember John Graves had a quick twitch. Like, John Graves was truly a defensive end when he played down at Meadowbrook. Right, Meadowbrook. And then when he got up, they put him at D tackle, like Corey Marshall, same way. The 285 pounds, but they're so quick and twitchy. And we were destroying them all night.
Yeah.
All night. Brian, let's talk about a few other things. What have we been struggling with that showed no signs that it was ever anything that bad when you get 38 rushing yards total on let's see how 24 carries.
Say that again.
24 carries, 38 rushing yards.
That's not good, man.
That's not good. but with what we've struggled with in the last few weeks, did it shock you?
It definitely it piqued my eyebrows up a little bit. I was like, all right, that's not expected, especially against this team, because as much as they've been struggling in the past game, I figured that we would see them kind of lean on the run a little bit, and they weren't able to get really anything going.
It's like, you know, we talked about it last week. We talked about we got to get Mike back on here and let him have his rant about run fits. And, you know, Brian's talked about tackling. Like, it did not rear its ugly head except for one play, well, which I'm sure we'll talk about. One play we seen, no wrap up, shot out of a cannon that gives the freaking running back a boost to get to the end zone. But other than that, it's like the run fits were better. You know what I'm saying? The tackling was 10 times better. Anytime you hold a team to 38 yards, and it's like you kind of felt like at one point it was like we demoralized them. You know what I'm saying? Like, they fought for a little bit, but they were so deflated, man. And then you got some people say, well, such and such was hurt. I don't give a fuck who was hurt. They sent a team down here. They played. I hate Pitt. Yeah. Last year, they had fucking 6 touchdowns and 320 yards rushing by one player. I don't care if they had Forrest Gump before he got his braces off running the ball. Hit him.
Hit him. And they did all night. I mean, and again, you mentioned the tackling. I don't know if you've got anything on it, Sean, but I'll ask you in talking to it. But it didn't seem like, other than the one play, and we're going to talk about it in a second here, I didn't foresee any missed tackles. Like, it was wrap up, it was get down, it was wrap up, stop, wait for the gang to get there, and then they go down.
It was gang tackling too, like you said.
That's how you win. That's how
gang
you win.
Tackling. You've seen so many maroon jerseys flying to the ball, you know, besides just the first guy. unless the first guy got him down, and then you had people coming. Like, you know, case in point, who was it that got the Djokovic? Kendricks got the Djokovic, and it was so quick that he got to him, and he thought he was down. But you had, and you had to watch it in, like I had to watch it a couple. Yeah, I had to watch it in a couple of times. He comes through and punches the ball out, you know, like, and recovers the fumble. Like, that's part of being around the ball. That's part of gang tackling. So, love to see it, man.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I mean, this is the first time I've really seen us have that kind of identity on both sides of the ball in a game for 4 quarters.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I know it's easy to say you've got an identity when things are going well for you, but we haven't really seen a whole lot of that the last couple of years. So it was good to see a game where you felt like we were playing to our strengths on both sides of the ball.
All right. So, Sheldon, give us the number. How many missed tackles Saturday night?
So per PFF, we had 6 total missed tackles, and our overall tackle rate was around 83%. So it's pretty solid. I think the national average is probably around 20%. So we were definitely above the average.
Very nice. And that's what we need to see. It's those continued steps up and up and up. Because, again, it ain't going to be perfect every week. We do have some flaws. But the thing is, what I think as a fan base, and probably us 4 that makes us feel better, talking about the run fits and tackling, we know it was an issue. And it's like, I know, I'm not going to say it's solved yet, but at least I know they are coaching to it, and you saw it in practice. Just like Tyler Bowen. We talked about, you know, Price said it. You can't get away from the run. We have to continue doing this. He didn't get away from it. So it's they're learning from those mistakes that were continuing to happen, and finally they self-corrected, which is always a good thing. All right, we do have to talk about what went bad. You know, we can sugarcoat it, but Brian, where do you want to start with this? What went bad Saturday night?
Let's start what we always do, the right side of the offensive line. It was another subpar overall performance. Probably some of the other guys on the other side of the ball had some of the better games they played in their career. Specifically, I'd say Caden played really well. Xavier Chaplin probably played the best game of his career. So, you know, when you have that there, what's kind of going on the right side stands out a little bit more, right? So, not a good game from Parker. Not as bad as it has been the last couple. Probably Schick's worst game, especially in the run game that I've seen this year. So rough overall on that side. Thankfully, it didn't end up having a big impact on the game. Between what Tuden and Drones were able to do with some of the misdirections, some of the broken tackles, and making something out of nothing, some of that kind of got glossed over a little bit. Where there was a good play from that wasn't really blocked that great, right? So. Right. You had a few of those, but
Zero had Bob the Builder in hell the whole night. Even when he wasn't making plays, he was in the backfield. He was grabbing people. He was doing all types of shit. Bob, I'm gonna tell you like I told Parker, if you don't get it together, y'all too. Since we won, I'm gonna let you live. But you better get it together. You better protect this quarterback and this running back.
So, Sheldon, who was our highest graded lineman in the case?
It was definitely Caden Moore. I remember looking at the grades. I think it was around like 60, 63 or something. He was really good in pass protection and pretty good in run blocking as well. But, I mean, for the most part, I think the offensive line was pretty average to below average outside of Moore. I think the biggest reason for the success, as you guys saw, was the wide receiver blocking on the perimeter. Yeah. That's how they set up all the outside runs. You can't make those plays work if you don't have good blocking from the wide receivers.
Well, when you got a tight end coach for a wide receiver coach, I got a feeling Fontel Mines, you don't block, you don't play for that man.
Yeah.
And just his face shows it too. All right, couple other thing. Go ahead.
On the touchdown where Drones was dragging 3 or 4 people in the end zone, the only person I seen that like really engaged and blocked was Moore. If you go back and watch the play, you know, it just wasn't nobody else there. You know, and the 3 or 4 people that he was dragging in the end zone was the people that were supposed to be blocked. So, you know, like
sometimes you get lucky.
Parker got lucky. His man took himself out of the play. Chaplin's man kind of took himself out of the play, then redirected and grabbed. Then you had some other people grabbing, but I mean, what I can say, I know we talking about what went bad, but what I can say is even though we was fucking up, we was doing it full speed.
Yep.
Brody was in there helping. He was trying to pull and taking drones to the end zone, and sometimes that's what you need, man. You gotta find something to play for. You got to play for each other, and
there you go.
It looked like we at least tried to do that.
If you can't play good, play hard.
Yeah,
play good, play hard.
There you go.
All right. So let's talk about the couple explosive pass plays that led to 2 of Pitt's 4 touchdowns. Do we all agree? The first one is what it is. Man got beat.
Bombed on us.
Bomb. Can't do nothing about that. The second one was the one Tally was mentioning a few minutes ago.
Yes.
The obvious, nobody wanted to wrap up Fleameister on that little screen. Nobody.
Mm-mm.
And that play, which went for, I believe it was 50.
I think it was 61 yards.
61. Yep, 61 in the 75. That's 136 of their yards right there on their total. I think it was under 200 plus. But it's still, you still don't like to see it, right?
No.
I know Shelton can probably pull us up here and say percentage-wise for explosive plays, we were significantly lower Saturday night than the national average. I'll let him pull that up and talk about it. But it's knowing where you're going. It's that whole forcing teams. Brian, me and you always talked about this for years. Forcing teams to drive the ball, more plays equals more potential errors.
Mm-hmm.
When you're getting shredded with 1 or 2 plays and they go for 30, 40 plus yards, like you don't have a chance in that. They score. And it's like that whole mentality of keep it in front of you. You keep it in front of you, they got to run another play. Eventually, somebody going to screw up, hopefully, and good things happen.
Right.
So,
yeah,
Sheldon, go ahead, Brian.
Go ahead. I was just going to – I'll let you go ahead and pitch it to Sheldon. I'll jump in after that.
Sheldon, what was the percentage on explosive plays from Pitt if you have that data? If not, Brian will jump in while you're still researching.
Yeah, you can go ahead. I'm still looking at it.
Yeah, you're good. Just saying on explosive plays, I mean, that's really been the big struggle for this team in every game so far. Letting those big plays, especially in the run game. So the fact that we're starting to make some hay there is nice, but you still have the one, like you said, it happens. But when on the screen, just get him to the ground.
Get him to the
ground.
And the thing is,
guys are in position to make the play. That's the more frustrating. Like if it's a caravan, then it is what it is. But
right, if you just get outflanked, then we got to accept it. Like they threw a bomb on us, somebody got beat. Yeah. Nothing you really can do.
Somebody got beat with no safety help.
But when you got people in position to make a tackle and the defense somewhat looks to be called to stop that play. Even though that was a safety blitz, a corner blitz, they threw the ball where the corner came from. We still had people in place to make the tackle. APR came in like he was shot out of a rocket, just didn't wrap up. And when he hit the running back, it looked like he gave him a Mario star, and he freaking took off to the end zone. I was like, how did he do that? Like he wasn't running that fast before he got hit. So it was just when stuff like that happens, and especially in like that point in the game where you're making some noise. I think it was 28-7.
Yep.
And then they go for a run like that. You're like, okay, here we go. That's what Virginia Tech does. We give up the big plays. So
very true. Sheldon, were you able to find anything?
Yeah, I think I had 7% explosive play rate against Pitt, and then I think against Rutgers, it was like 4%, which was pretty bad. Marshall was much better, though. So the thing is, it kind of obviously goes up and down game to game. There's a lot of variance in terms of explosive plays. I would say this is probably one area where I think maybe the analytics differs from conventional wisdom. It's not that explosive plays don't matter. It's just that they tend to be pretty random. And so the most sustainable way to create offense is to, like I said, stay on schedule, be successful, get chunk yards when you can. I think like to the point you were saying, having explosive plays is big because it reduces the number of plays you need to score to have a successful drive, which is less potential for error. But when you look at it over the course of time, the best offenses are the ones that stay on schedule, not necessarily the ones that have the biggest explosive plays. So it does matter, but it's just one component, I think, of sustaining offense. And so the biggest thing for me against Pitt was the fact that Tech was, like I said, extremely successful. They had a 50% success rate, which would have been around the 90th percentile. So that's really, really good.
That is
we did good on offense.
And I mean, to Sheldon's point there, when you look at those explosive plays and you look at what Pitt's been doing all year, the problem that with Pitt's offense is that they're pretty much only explosive plays right now. Like they have they're generating very little offense outside of those explosive plays.
Right.
But, the one thing you talked about, Shelton's making a great point of staying on task. It's impressive you say we're at 90% success rate when we had 10 penalties at 91 yards.
Jesus.
Now, 2 of those were complete
at home.
Shit. 2 were bullshit. I'll straight up. 2 were bullshit. Drone spiking the ball at a 15-yard penalty. And Delane trash talking. Really? I mean, ref ain't got
I'm wondering is it a code word that the refs said? Like some refs don't like a certain word that you say. I'm wondering, did he say that word?
Maybe that's what he said. Well, Jones just spiked the football, and he's like, wait a second. Spiking the football gets you a penalty? What?
Yeah.
What? I didn't know that.
Apparently get jacked into the backfield is enough to get a tripping call on you too, so
I mean, so that
was a phantom tripping call on Gosnell, so that's really 3 if you want to add that one in there.
So add that one in there. So 3, the phantom tripping call. They all are 15s. So what that scares me on this because the other 7 were for 60, and they were procedurals. I think we had 1 offsides, and those are the ones where Shelton's just talking about. We have to clean that up because you're not going to have the success rate of 90 having 60 plus yards, or 40 plus yards in procedural penalties because you're going to be 1st and 15. Oh, well, instead of 2nd and 6, it's 2nd and 11 because somebody jumped. So it's something I want to see cleaned up. I think we all want to see cleaned up because those are the ones that's the ones that I will literally, if I'm sitting here with my hat on in the man cave and I throw it to the ground because it's just stop the stupid crap. Stop the dumb shit.
You might as well throw the hat up because they throwing the flags up because we jumping off sides.
Yeah, I mean, Curtis, you're talking about, I mean, it ended up not playing that much of a role this week, but I mean, you look back to the Marshall game with going from 4th and 1 to keep the drive going to tie it to 4th and 6, and now you got a completely different mindset of what you need to do to get that first down.
And how pissed does it make you? How pissed does it make you that we run the 4th down play where we put drones on the center and right behind him, and we just push him forward, and he gains like 3 yards?
We didn't do it again.
But I'm saying if we don't jump off sides against Marshall, we can use that play.
Yes, we could.
And we can get a first down, but you jump off sides and you make it 4th and 6, totally different play.
Yep. All right, before we wrap it up, anything else of what went bad any of y'all want to point out?
I will say this, and it's something that they're going to have to correct, and it's probably because of how much he's carrying the ball. I think Drones has fumbled in 3 games. I think he's fumbled 3 times, or maybe lost 3 fumbles. I got to go back and look. I know he's fumbled a couple times. He's got to clean that up. He don't want that stigma on him. I know he's carrying that ball a lot. Sooner or later, we're gonna have to not have him carry the ball 22 times a game, but we gotta limit those fumbles because in a close game it'll come back and bite us.
Yeah, the first game he had the missed handoff, so it wasn't really like a fumble, but right. I mean it was credited to him because of the exchange at the mesh point. But then he did fumble against Marshall, running the football, and then obviously what happened in the backfield this week against Pitt. So
we got to clean up the fumbles. He's doing good. I don't think he's got 1 pick, but as the play caller, man, and I think Drones is doing an awesome job. Y'all know how I feel. Y'all know how BCP feels about Drones being QB1.
We have been on it since April.
Yeah. But him going forward and him taking that next step it's going to be he's got to clean up the turnovers.
Well, all three of them are different though. The mesh point, there's been no issues with the mesh since then.
Right.
The run, it was how he was protecting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that Saturday night. When he ran, he was much more protected. What it was Saturday night was he was scrambling, trying to get away,
right.
And he was trying
like
to
it slipped out of his hand.
Yeah. So it's one of those. That's where the conversation's got to be. Hey, listen, you've got to know when it's over, and you just got to chuck it over the head.
Right.
So, but the way I see it is, we've had no more mesh issues. He looked better protecting the ball Saturday. Again, it's like they're coaching to it. He's taking it and he's putting it in practice. So let's clean up the other one. Let's clean up when you're getting pressured and and there's a no-win situation, you've got to get rid of it quicker. You can't, because at that point there were two guys on him.
Yeah, and I was going to say it's a couple of times what he's good at is also can be what the Achilles heel will be. Like he's good. I think I can't remember. Was it fourth quarter? It may have been third or fourth quarter. The throw he made to Daquan, right? He's got people draped on him, and he kind of jumps and throws the 30-yard pass, and we get the first down to Wright.
It's Daquan.
Yeah.
Daquan,
so
right, not
but, right. So my thing is like he has a knack for doing certain things.
Yeah.
But the more and more he plays, he's gonna have to see how he can do that. Because it was a couple of times, like when they got the intentional grounding call, like if he doesn't have just a little bit more arm on that ball, he had no receivers around.
That's
a pick. And that's a pick six. You know what I'm saying? Like that's that is a long way to the sideline. So I know you gotta looking at him play, man. He looks so mature. He's such a young guy, man. And he is. I want them to get behind him and keep developing him because he's special. I kind of thought it when I seen him and I seen some of the things that he could do. I was like, I think he'll fit in good in this offense. But just those things, if he tweaks those, moving forward, I think we got a star in our hands.
I think you're right. All right,
protect the ball, baby.
Protect it. All right, let's move on this one. That was obviously the bad. We still have things we are griping about because we're fans, because ain't none of y'all out there below that, because I know y'all gripe. But let's do this one next, and I'm going to lead it off. Anything that happened that we were not prepared for. And this is my biggie. After the big Flemeister touchdown pass, after the fumble, within 5 seconds, it goes from a 3-score lead to a 1-score lead. And this is where I think, people are questioning, is it the right coaching staff? And this is when it kind of clicked on me. We do have a good coaching staff. That whole team was calm. The entire team was calm. Offense, defense, everybody was just like, hey, this is all right. Everybody take a breath. We've made a couple mistakes. We still got a lead. We're still playing well. And there have been times in the past where it wasn't like that. It was the old cascade effect, Brian, right?
Yep.
Rolling down. Bad just keeps happening. Bad just keeps happening. It didn't happen because after that fumble return, just a few minutes later, we go and score again.
Yeah.
We take the 14-point lead back, and it's just like, okay.
Yep.
That made me feel good. What about you, Brian?
I'd say the big thing there is that, when we look at, just speaking to your point, not only did they not panic, but the staff trusted the players to go out there and get it back, right? Get that touchdown back, and they did it. So that was big. My thing is, I didn't expect that much complimentary football in one football game.
True.
I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, that's true. Well, going back to what Curtis said when he talks about the calmness, kind of starts with the head man. Like when Drones turns that ball over, which we've talked about, other regimes that we probably know of would have got tighter. Even us, we would have thought our coaches might have got tight. But I seen and we talked about it, last week, talking about wanting to see some action from the coaches. I seen Pryor beelining over to Drones when he lost that ball. And I'm like, oh, he's about to get in his ass. He didn't. He went over, he put his head, I don't know what he said to him. He probably said, you better go get it back. It's all right. We still up. But whatever he said, he made sure his young quarterback was calm enough to go out and run the offense. So, Andretti, I was wondering where you was at. I was about to get pissed, man, if you don't show up on a win. but anyway, yeah, like Curtis said, man, just the calmness of the team, starting with the coach, then the quarterback, then everybody else. We just kept on grooving. And then what Brian said, we had the complimentary football throughout the game. You kind of when things went bad on offense, defense stepped up. You know what I'm saying? When they cut the lead, defense went out and got a big stop. When they gave the ball back to the offense went and scored. Because there's been plenty of times where we get a turnover on the 10-yard line and have to kick a field goal. No, we punched it in.
Yes, we did. Yes, we did.
So brings me to my point. I didn't think I was going to have to change my underwear as much as I did. Yep, man. It was bad. It was bad, man. Creaming all day. Watching the game. It was so many good points in the game. It was so, talk about the complimentary football. You talk about the calmness of the team. You talking about what the coaches did. It was just great to see a full game of competent football. You know what I'm saying? And just to lay it out, again, everybody knows my son plays travel baseball, so we're at the ball field. A place called Albertville this week, which is still in the country. It's a lot of country places. And if we're playing baseball in Alabama, you're usually in the country. So I'm on the group chat with the fellas, and I'm just getting like late updates. Like, no, but they're crazy too. It's like, oh, screenplay. And then it's like, oh, fuck. And then it's like, fuck the refs. And I'm like they're all out of order. So I don't know what's going on. So I just got to put it down until I actually can call somebody or until I can go check the score, move around and find a spot. So it was nerve-wracking to not be able to watch it while it was live. But it also was, very like it was just, man, when you looked at the score and we were up, 28-7, and then they come back and make it 21-28. Then we go up and take the lead, go to 35-21. I'm like, all right, we got a football team here.
We do. Sheldon, what about you? What surprised you Saturday night?
I would say how efficient the passing game was. I mean, I didn't get to the stat yet, but you look at EPA per dropback, so that's expected points added. Basically, it converts yards into points. Tech ranked in the 99th percentile in that stat. So they averaged about, 12 yards per dropback. And that includes sacks. Obviously, Tech did not give up a single sack. And it also includes scramble runs. So they were super, super efficient in terms of the dropback passing game, which I think was really, really helpful. They obviously generated some explosive plays. The touchdown pass to Lane, where I think he kind of, sat in that little underneath spot and kind of drifted away from the linebackers who kind of cheated towards one side and then had a ton of running room. I think it was just a really good, efficient passing offense, which was pretty nice to see. And I know Drones graded out really well on PFF too, so kind of backs up the eye test as well. He was just really smart with the ball and make good decisions.
All righty. Well, what can we do better moving forward? I know the one that we've kept on there is I think the way Brody Meadows needs to be starting somewhere on the line. When
got to get him in there, man.
He's got to be starting somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know where it is. I know where Brian wants him.
As long as we get somebody off the right side of the line, I'm good at this point.
And I think that happens. And we're sitting here talking about it. Could we see it Florida State or Wake? Me and Brian had a little sidebar conversation the other day, boys. If it happens, it's going to be Syracuse because they're going to have the big break, right? They're going to have their off week, and then they're going to have prepping for Syracuse. I think that's the week if there's a change made, unless they just say, you know what, put the better guy on the right side.
Yeah, I mean you'll get at least 2 extra practices in that period there. So
right.
Yep. What else, Brian?
I mean, let's continue stringing together these multiple quarters of complimentary football because
that's how you win games.
I kind of like it. It wins games.
It does. It does.
It's nice. It's nice looking at a team that looks competent for 4 quarters in pretty much every phase. Like I don't expect them to go out there and be perfect. I don't think any of us expect them to go out there and play a perfect game, except maybe this week because that's what's needed to win. But we'll get to that after the break.
True. Anything else, Tally?
Well, Brian said, playing competent, but also playing confident. Knowing that you know your plays, moving forward, knowing that the play call is going to work, knowing that you got the people in place to make the play. If you watch Felton on that first pass, he's missed some. He's still, of course, he's not perfect. He's a human, but he's missed some balls that's been thrown to him. But when he caught that ball, you can see the excitement. Like, he's got it with two hands. He's about to squeeze the air out of it. Like, he was so excited to catch the ball and get in the end zone and burn somebody. Like, that's confidence. You know what I'm saying? You can see his confidence building just every week, and then Lane getting back. I don't think Lane knew he was 100% until he caught that ball and took off. Yeah. Because I seen him on the sideline. Like, I always watch the game within the game. Like, I don't just watch the plays. I watch sideline stuff. I watch things that's going on between the plays, kind of offensive linemen talking to each other. But I seen Lane after he caught that pass. It was like he was talking maybe to the other wide receivers, and he was like, "Oh, I thought I was going to get caught." And you know what I'm saying? He kind of feel it in his hamstring, but I don't think he's 100%, but I think he may be 90%. I don't think he knew that until he caught that and he turned it on. So, because he hit another gear when he got that ball. So, we need that for us to compete and win, but definitely to compete in this week. Confidence,
absolutely, man. Sheldon, anything else we can do better moving forward?
I would say the offensive line was still not great. I think when you look at some of our rushing numbers, it's a little bit misleading because we had a ton of big, or I would say big, but we had a ton of chunk plays. But in terms of just line yards, which is basically like yards that you can attribute to offensive line play, it was not great, and it hasn't been great for most of this year. Now, I do think they're getting a little bit better, but there's definitely still some misassignments there. I think our running success had more to do with drones kind of making things happen, as well as, like I said, getting the ball to the perimeter and having those wide receivers block. So, I mean, because we had so many tosses to outside the tackles that it was kind of hard to really attribute that too much to the O-line play. I don't know what schematically they looked at with Pitt, but like every single time they got the ball outside, like we had numbers. We just, it was just a matter of blocking it upright, which they did. So obviously a lot of work to do with the offensive line, but at the very least, the wide receiver blocking was fantastic. So some good, some bad.
Yeah, I think Bowen is figuring out what the team as a whole, from an offensive standpoint, does well in terms of the running game, and what it doesn't do well is just line up and run between the tackles.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing though about that? He still keeps it honest, because there were times Saturday night it would be Malachi or Tunis like, y'all running inside zone. We're gonna get about 3 yards. If y'all break one, we might get 5.
Well, you can't have those linebackers just flowing right off the bat. So you got to keep them honest.
Yep, you got to keep them honest.
But I think we figured out those like 5 or 6 running plays that we can get some positive yards on every time now, and we're starting to figure that out. Absolutely. And I think that's helped the offensive line in terms of the rushing game more than anything else. And when things like that make the lineman's job a little bit easier too, so the block's a little bit easier to get there. So you'll see the grades creep up a little bit because of that too. Absolutely. Now there's still not, we don't have any not a lot of green on that sheet yet, but we're starting to at least creep into the yellow on some of those PFF grades now.
It's going to be a slow go, but we are seeing some improvement, and to me it's been that way since Kyron Jones took out. I still sit here, and y'all, if we take a look at how we're rushing the ball, we are now, I think, let me see, 125, 1 to 300, 2 500. We're averaging about 170 a game on the ground since Kyron Jones took over. 170 is about 40th in the country rushing the ball. That is a
crazy
60 a game. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Because you tell me right now we're going to rush the ball in the top 40. I'll take it every year. Every year you take it, because you're going to get somewhere between 170 and 180 a game.
And people talk some damage. And you'll have people that say, well, you played this team, or this team wasn't this. We played ODU and couldn't run the ball.
Couldn't run the ball against it. The best 3 defensive we played, Tally, we've ran our best. We've ran our best against Rutgers, who's a good, solid defense. Marshall, who might be the best G5 defense out there. And Pitt, who I said before, was a top 15 ranked defense. Oh, it's who they play. Don't care. The numbers are the numbers.
They played North Carolina.
Kept them.
North Carolina's got a Heisman.
West Virginia is not a slouch team right now. Look at their record.
I think they're 4-1. Right?
All right, boys. Before we get to know the enemy, let's go take a break from our digital partners and Main Street Pharmacy.
I can probably save you a lot of money, and I can take a lot better care of you. That's pretty much it. My name is Jeremy Counts, and I'm a pharmacist. I own and operate Main Street Pharmacy here in downtown Blacksburg. My brother's a pharmacist, I'm a pharmacist, my uncle's a pharmacist, my dad's a pharmacist. I remember he would give me M&Ms to count in little pill counters. This is just something I've always done, and I'm just lucky that what I know so well is something that I can do and feel good about it and give back to people. Pharmacies are your frontline defense. Pharmacy's job is to make sure you're getting optimal care for the lowest price possible. Also, we take the pressure off of emergency rooms. I'll tell people immediately when they need to go to the doctor, or I'll tell them if they just need a cream over the counter. If there's something that isn't commercially available, if it's something that's not available in a certain strength or a certain form or anything like that, we'll make it. Tailor-made medications. Some of those options save people a lot of money. What motivates me? I get to take care of people and live in Blacksburg. That's all I need.
As we take a quick break, we'd like to tell you about getting your free website report from our digital partner, Grassroots Digital Marketing Studio. They'll tell you how your website ranks on Google, on-site SEO, and social media. No commitment to buy anything. You can get your free report by visiting grassrootsdigitalstudio.com/free-website-report. Now back to the episode.
All righty, and we are back, and it is time for Know the Enemy. As we take a look at the Florida State Seminoles, where the Hokies will take on them 3:30 ABC national primetime game there, boys, on Saturday afternoon, which is Tally got baseball tournament this weekend?
Nope, we off.
Woohoo!
I don't know. I might not need to watch it. Shit.
Nah, you gotta watch it.
We're doing good, but I ain't watching it.
Nah, watch it. That don't matter. 3:30 ABC at the Doak. Let's start with the offense as we always do. Brian, let's talk about this scheme of Alex Atkins.
Yeah, it's that spread RPO. It's got a lot of pro-style elements in it. They run a mostly 11 and 12 personnel, heavy dose of 11, but they'll occasionally go 12, especially in those running situations. In terms of the running game, they like to hit you a lot of outside zone and counter. They also use the quarterback a really good amount. You're going to see a heavy dose of Jordan Travis in this game. They like to use a lot of motion, get favorable matchups in the passing game, use that to confuse the linebackers and defensive linemen in terms of the gap responsibilities. So that's what to expect from the offense.
Yeah, and the first player we'll talk about is the one who's leading the charge, Jordan Travis, the quarterback. Giving a little background on him. Listed as a dual threat quarterback, 6'2", about 185. He's from North Palm Beach, Florida. So Florida boy, went to the Benjamin School. Don't know a lot of people that have went there, but that's where he went to high school. Out of high school, he was ranked about an 85 composite 3-star dual threat athlete. Looks like he was 889th in the nation back then. Out of high school, he had offers from Louisville, where he committed to and went, but we'll get into that. Other big ones was Georgia, North Carolina. Then he had some small stuff like Rutgers, or I say small stuff, but other smaller schools, Rutgers, Southern Miss, UCF. He did end up going to committing and going to Louisville, where he transferred to Florida State a year later. And I don't think he really needs an introduction on what he's been able to do at Florida State. He's been lighting it up. I mean, he can run it, he can throw it. Right now, just to give a couple of stats that he has, in just a second. Got it pulled up here. A couple of stats that he has. He's got 1,028 yards passing this year. Completion rate of about 61. He's got 10 touchdowns and 1 interception. so he's not turning the ball over a lot or hardly at all. Right now, rushing the ball, he's carried the ball about 23 times, it says. He's got 94 yards, 2 touchdowns. Brian, what you got on him?
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the better overall quarterbacks in the country at this point. I'd probably put him at least in kind of that top 5, definitely top 10 in terms of quarterbacks in the country. Delivers a good and accurate ball, can really threaten you all over the field. He can throw it deep. He's pretty accurate in the intermediate game. Really good improvisation. Like, I'd say that's off the charts for him in terms of what he can do when a play breaks down, whether that's running it or, kind of throwing it off the podium there a little bit. So elite rush stability. He doesn't run the ball a ton, but when he does, he's very effective with it. And definitely the scariest player on that offense overall.
Sean, any sort of more deep statistics to talk about Jordan Travis with?
I would say the biggest thing, obviously, is just his experience. I mean, he's been in college for 6 years now. He has 1,010 career dropbacks. Obviously, 5th year at Florida State. He's gotten better, generally speaking, every year if you look at just his grades. And that's not necessarily just a reflection of his actual play, but you can tell the stats kind of back up how good he is. One thing I did notice, he has the 4th lowest adjusted completion percentage in the ACC. So for all of his accolades, and obviously he's got so many, accuracy has not been necessarily, you would say, great. He also has the lowest percentage of pressures converted into sacks. So basically what that means is when Florida State gives up pressure, he does not get sacked. So that could be sort of a luck stat, but it could also be the fact that he's able to escape pressure pretty easily and can obviously move around a little bit. So take that for what it's worth.
All righty. So there's Jordan Travis. Obviously, I think it's a name every single person knows. I got a feeling just about every name we talk about here today, everybody's probably going to already know it. And that makes the next guy very easy. That's Keon Coleman. Keon Coleman, 6'4", 215-pound wide receiver, originally committed and playing for the Michigan State Spartans, where he got definitely some run last year before he came in the portal. He was a top 500 player, a consensus 4-star down there. And so far this year, just stat line straight up, 17 receptions, 256, 6 touchdowns. Tells me every third ball that man catches, he's getting touchdowns. Brian, what are you selling on him?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with him, he's I think their most dangerous overall wide receiver in terms of just scoring potential there. Has the ability to beat you deep, but what he's really good at and what they've used him a lot, he's a red zone threat. Good at using his body to position and high point the ball, win in the red area. He's able to get in the end zone very efficiently.
All right, Sean, I know you've got some more deeper stats on him. What's some more deeper stats than just that 17 for 256 and 6 touchdowns?
Yeah, give me a sec. I'm gonna put up right here. I know that their receivers have graded out pretty well. I'm just pulling it up.
You're good. Well, coming out of college, coming out of high school, he's from Louisiana. He's from Louisiana. And, I mean, when he came out, you talked about the offer list tally for, Jordan, which was pretty solid. I mean, he went to Michigan State, but Baylor, Auburn, Georgia, Florida State originally had an offer for Florida State. He was one of those who were, like, when Dion was there, was getting recruited by Jackson State. So it wasn't like he wasn't a known. He just went up north. Let's just not talk about, actually held a Virginia Tech offer as well. So, to be a guy where he is, where he was rated, good player, we always look at offer sheets, right? And Sheldon's getting this stuff up. And there's sometimes you sit here and wonder, like, this guy's getting all these offers from all these programs. How is he just barely a 4-star? How is he as a 3-star? Especially if you look at Keon Coleman's body coming out. He was already like 6'4", 195 pounds. That's the stuff I don't get. And I know some of it, Brian and you and Shelton, we can all talk about, well, some of it is they're just the best athlete on the field. Where they play is just, there's no one else in there. So there are some people that are hesitant to give them a significant bump. And then sometimes it's just like, well, he doesn't do anything great. He's not a crisp route runner. He doesn't have a blazing speed. So it's just interesting to see that many offers, but not the high rating.
Because the people who's giving the ratings are essentially me, a guy sitting behind a computer doing nothing. I mean, the people who are going out and offering scholarships are people who know what an offense looks like, know what a player that they can develop and put into that offense, and looking at a player and say, oh, I can use him to run jet sweeps with, I can use him to beat the defense. Like, that's why you're getting offers and maybe you're not getting rankings, because the rankings sometimes just have to do with what camps you go to and what amount of money you spend to get that ranking. So that's why those rankings sometimes are skewed.
You good to go, Sheldon?
Yeah, so nothing super eye-popping about Coleman, just in terms of kind of the overall stats. Averages about 15 yards a catch, 6 touchdowns, like you said. The one thing he does really well is he is shorthanded. He does not have a single drop this year and 17 receptions.
Man, that's pretty good right there.
Well, he's dropping one Saturday. Thank you, Sheldon.
Write it down. Okay.
You know how when somebody shooting free throws and then the commentator goes, he hadn't missed a free throw in 99 attempts. He misses that next one. Thank you, Sheldon. We're bringing that up.
Sure thing.
The first inside.
It's on record. It's on record. We're good.
It's on record. The first inside slant he runs with no safety over the top, he's going to brick it. Watch. All right. Well, let's go to the opposite side of the field. Let's talk about Johnny Wilson. Johnny Wilson was a top 120 player coming out of high school. He was from Calabasas, California, class of 2020. Originally committed to the Arizona State Sun Devils when Herm was over there. So far this season, the last couple seasons. I mean, last season he went for almost 900 yards, 20 yards a reception, which is pretty good. And this year, 303 yards on 16. No touchdowns, though. So definitely you would think at 6'7", 225 pounds that he would be slightly more of a red zone target, but I guess not. But Sigla, what's the tape? Why doesn't he have any touchdowns?
He's kind of the classic big slot guy. Like, you see those big slot receivers, matchup nightmares. He's that guy, but he's more of that guy in the between the 20s, right? He's not really a burner, but he's super shifty, moves really well for his size. Use him on a lot of crossers, digs, seams, so they're getting him up the field. They're not using him on like fades or anything like that, even in the middle of the field. So you don't see that really called in the red zone either for him. He's definitely eats kind of in that intermediate middle of the offense. That's where they like to attack.
And what do you got on him, Sheldon?
Yeah, another solid player. Again, nothing super exceptional. Averages about 19 yards per catch, which is pretty good. And he also ranks 27th in the Power 5 in terms of average depth of target, about 16 yards. So it did definitely a lot of downfield routes for him.
Yeah, it makes sense when Brian says he looks at tape and sees those crossers, the digs, and the seams. So that's pretty good to know that he is not going to be, I think when you're planning the defense right, okay, Wilson's not going to be up on the line. However you're going to play him, whether it be bracket, maybe a robber, or take your best, maybe Jenkins. I mean, Brian, could y'all see Jenkins covering him?
Not all game.
Not all game? Okay.
Like I said, he moves pretty well for a big guy.
All righty. Let's talk about the offensive line next, Brian. And I want to talk about one guy because, again, in the era of the transfer portal, these stories like this are going to come up more and more and more. And the highest graded offensive lineman has been Bless Harris, or the highest for LSU and Clemson was Bless Harris. He's from New Orleans, Louisiana. He's from St. Augustine. He was the class of 2018. So everybody do that. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Sixth year. Y'all know where he played his ball for the first 4 seasons?
Where?
Lamar. Anybody know where Lamar is? Because I don't.
Texas.
Texas. Thank you, Shelton, with that.
Only because I have no life, but yeah.
Hey, I know where some schools are. Some schools I don't. But he played there for 4 seasons and then transfers to Florida State and is clearly tearing it up. But, Brian, let's talk about the offensive line in general, not just Bless. What are you seeing from them?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing is that they're a good offensive line, not a great offensive line. You think with Florida State, some of the classes they brought in, they'd be a little bit more stacked. They're good, not great. They occasionally struggle to get to the second level of the defense. So you'll potentially you'll see more chunk plays from their running backs than necessarily those really big gainers, those explosive plays. It's going to be kind of the chunk plays like we saw against Pitt last week, those 8 to 12 yards consistently. That's where they kind of like eat in the running game, is in that area. Have more success with the quarterback zone read keepers. And they do occasionally get confused when you disguise the pressure. So that's some opportunity that we may have there of getting in the backfield and getting after Jordan Travis. But as Shelton said, that still doesn't mean that you're going to have success, because Travis is very elusive in the backfield. You're not going to get a lot of sacks against him, even if you are getting in the backfield.
Sheldon, I know you told me you had some more stuff on this offensive line. What's the data telling us? Are they just an average offensive line with an exceptional eluding quarterback?
I would say a little bit of both. They're definitely, I would say, above average. So you look at Bless Harris, he has the best pass blocking grade in the ACC according to PFF.
Damn.
You got Darius Washington, the center / right tackle. He's kind of been switched around a little bit. 0 pressures allowed and 68 pass rushing opportunities. So he's their highest graded OL. And then, you've also got Murray Smith at center, who's been actually pretty lowly graded. He's come back from injury, missed a couple of games. Jeremiah Byers, the right tackle, has not been great. He's a UTEP transfer. So when you look at it, it's a little bit of a patchwork offensive line. Obviously, the big thing that Norvell had to do when he came to FSU is revamp that offensive line that was just atrocious under Taggart. I think that was the biggest reason that you saw Florida State kind of struggle his first 2 years, kind of like Coach Pry's doing here at Virginia Tech now. It is a very, very hard position group to fix overnight. And so they've been kind of going through some growing pains. You take some guys from lower levels, try to fit them in. It's not always smooth. So it's definitely a good offensive line. I would say you look at some of the passing stats, they're 8th nationally in EPA on passing attempts. So the pass protection has been good. Obviously, Jordan Travis has a lot to do with that. But overall, I would say it's definitely not an offensive line that you think you might get dominated by. I think Travis really kind of makes them click.
That makes a lot of sense there. It makes a lot of sense there. I mean, and I think we will consider this is clearly the best offense we will have seen all season, the most dynamic offense we've seen all season. So as good as Chris Marv called last weekend, he's got to actually take it up a couple levels this weekend to keep us in this game. I don't think any of us will disagree with that. Now let's switch to defense. And let's talk about the 4-3 defense, Brian. Who's it led by?
Yeah, we got defensive coordinator Adam Fuller. It's a 4-3, but they use a lot of hybrid players, especially the front seven there. They've got that Fox DN position, that kind of stand-up defensive end, and then they use a hybrid linebacker. We call our star. Theirs is a stud linebacker. So that's what you can expect from this defense. 4-3 kind of standard. You call it a hybrid. It could be lean into that 4-2-5 look, the way they use that stud linebacker. But it's not something that we haven't seen before.
All righty.
Yeah, when you talk about that Fox defensive end, and also talk about the transfers coming from lower levels like we've been talking about, you got to throw the name Jared Verse in there. Jared Verse was a class of 2019 guy, and he played his ball at Albany before he transferred.
That's in New York.
Albany Great Danes. That's who he played for.
Curtis knew that one.
He didn't even have a rating coming out of high school. There was no rating. It says he had one offer, which was Albany, coming out of high school, and he transferred to Florida State, where he has been. And if you just look at the stats, his stats are not eye-popping at all. I think he's got 11 tackles this year. He's got 11 tackles, half of a sack. Last year, he had about 47 tackles and 9 sacks. The reason that his stats are not eye-popping this year, it's kind of like we talked about before we came on. People are running away from him. Don't let them stats fool you. If you go watch him on tape, he is very disruptive. Brian, what you got on Jared Verse?
Yeah, he's that Fox DN. They use him to set the edge, rush the passer on those stunt looks. Usually in the stand-up position, he will put his hand in the dirt, though. Use him a lot to play games with the offensive line and quarterback, get them confused, getting them thinking, getting the quarterback sped up a little bit. And he's all about controlling the gap in the run game versus penetrating. He's not a guy that's going to fly upfield or anything like that, but he's going to hold his gap, play pretty sound technique. And he's really good at really doing all those things. Probably the best overall defensive player, arguably in the conference. Like you said, he doesn't necessarily jump off on the stat sheet, but when he's on the field, you find him. He jumps off the tape real quick. Boston College, when you looked at that game, they essentially had success running away from him, getting the ball outside of him, kind of taking away his ability to impact the running game. And they will occasionally use him in coverage. They'll call some zone blitzes, and he'll be out there in the flats or covering a guy one-on-one. So look for that as well.
Yep, and it's funny because Tally, you talked about him being at Albany, and again, it's the portal thing. We keep talking about it. We keep harping on it. If you go look up right now the NFL draft, Jared Verse is going to be taken really high next year, really high. So at all different levels, there are these guys just waiting. Go find them. And obviously, I think with some of our coaches, especially like the Lackawanna connections and guys who have coached all over the country over their careers, we do have that opportunity. All right, Brian, I'm going to pitch it to you next. Let's talk about Kalen DeLoach, linebacker, 6 foot, 226 pounds, out of Savannah, Georgia, and Islands High School. Now, he was an original commit to Florida State back in 2019 and a pretty highly rated one at that. Was a top 247 player, composite 91. And, I mean, look at his offer list. It's unreal. Florida State, Auburn, Michigan, Alabama, Clemson, South Carolina. I could go on and on. And if you take a look at some of the guys that were his primary recruiters, Kevin Steele, Don Brown when he was the DC at Michigan, Pete Golden, the old DC at Bama, Brent Venables at Clemson. They didn't put their trash on him. They put their number one guys to recruit this kid. And Brian, tell us a little bit more about Kalen.
Yeah, so he's going to be the second hybrid player on this defense that's on this list that we're talking about right now. So he's the stud linebacker. Primarily aligns to the field side of the formation. Typical, run like a linebacker, cover like a DB type build that you like to see. When he's on the nub side, he'll be in the box, and likes to walk out on the wide receiver, playing that field side. And when he's wide, he becomes a force player in the defense, and they use him a lot heavy in blitzes from that position, but also he's really good in coverage as well.
And he's having himself a really good season statistical-wise, too. 17 total tackles, 10 solo, 3 sacks, and another tackle and a half for loss, along with a forced fumble and a forced fumble return for a touchdown, 56 yards. Tells you the kid is super athletic. All right, we're going to hit one more player on the defensive side of the ball, and that is Ahir Thomas, the defensive back. Another straight-up Florida State player, and this kid is one of these elites. He's a class of 2022. He was a top 100 player. He rated at a 96. Same way. You look at his offer list, it's all over the place. It's just about every school you can think of. He was a stud coming out of high school. And obviously, if we're mentioning him here, he's been in college for, 2 years, and he's already making a pretty big impact. Brian, what do you got to think about this 6'2", 180-plus pound defensive back?
Yeah, he lines up as their field corner primarily. He's really the best cover corner on the team. There's really not a close comparison. Holds up really well in man and zone. Willing tackler, nothing to write home about, but he's not afraid to get his head in there and get guys down in the run game. Sometimes I'd say he's too reliant on his instincts, but when they pay off, he's in there making a big play, whether it's a breakup, getting an interception, whatever it may be. He does a really good job of trusting his instincts and making those type of plays.
Very nice. Yeah, and you talk about the pass breakups. He's already got 4 in 4 games this year, so he is definitely Johnny on the spot. Sheldon, you've got a couple data points you want to give about this defense in general. What is some of the deeper data points telling us?
Sure. So the biggest red flag for Florida State, they rank 111th in rush defense EPA. So they have a pretty porous rush defense overall. Now, their pass defense, which I'm looking at the numbers here, is much better. They're 21st in pass defense, just the EPA, so the analytical stuff. So run defense is good, or excuse me, run defense is poor, pass defense is very good. I think the biggest thing that stuck out to me when looking at Florida State, they are not elite at really anything, but they're pretty much good at everything. So I think that's, to me, that's a testament of coaching. Like when you look across the board, there's nothing that they really dominate, but they're just consistently solid at almost every position group and every unit. It's just it's a team that just doesn't have a lot of holes. So and you can tell why they're so successful. They just do everything pretty solid, and that's why they're so tough to beat.
Yeah, and Shelton, you looked at some of the deeper data, and I looked at some of the old school data. The yards are true. They are 95th in the country in total defense. They are giving up about 400 yards a game. And then you take a look at scoring defense, 52nd. Third down conversion, 49th. That's middle of the pack. There are 2 places they excel, though, that I consider excelling. It's in their top. They're in the top 20. Sacks per game. Obviously, Jared Verse, you mentioned him there. A couple other good players. And the other one is red zone D. They are in the top 20 in that. They are giving up less touchdowns, or they're giving up less red zone scores than anybody, 11 out of 17. So that means you get down there, it's not guaranteed. And if you take a look at the sack numbers, it kind of makes sense. Also with the turnover numbers as well. All righty, boys, we're going to get into the keys now, and I'm going to pitch to each one of y'all because I think we are consensus on this. For the Hokies to win this game, it's going to have to be a perfect game. Florida State is this year an elite team. Do they have some flaws? Yeah, they do. So, Tally, I'm going to pitch to you first. What is one of the Hokie key or the biggest Hokie key for you?
For me, I'll say just getting drones in space, letting him be himself, roll out the pocket, RPOs, bootlegs. They're going to have to move that pocket around because he's going to have pressure coming from everywhere. So that's going to be my biggest key.
All right, Sheldon, what about you?
Man, I would say stay on schedule. Florida State is just, again, looking at the numbers here. So they are actually not great defensively on first and second down in terms of success rate. So if you can, stay ahead of the sticks, get them on first and second, that'll set you up in a good spot. I think for me, people often talk about third down conversion percentage. And while I do think it's a valuable stat, I think it's a lot of times misinterpreted. The teams, the best teams, the best offenses are the ones that are successful on first and second down. It's not about third down. You want to avoid third down. You want to be successful on first and second so you can set yourself up ideally for, easier third downs. So that's one area where Florida State struggles. I think if Tech can, get the running game going and be successful in those early downs, they'll be in a pretty good spot.
Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is force turnovers against this team. If we can force them to turn the ball over, then I think that's going to set us up and put us in a good position. They haven't really turned the ball over that much all season. 3 total turnovers. I think we need to get 2 in this game to really have a chance to be competitive as we get down the stretch there in the fourth quarter. So if we can turn them over twice, we can put ourselves to be competitive towards the end. If not, it might be a long contest.
It might be if that's the case. And I'm going to kind of piggyback, and this is both on the defensive side of this is on the defensive side of the ball as well. Keep them in front of you. Keep them in front of you. They are obviously a big pass play team. You can see with Coleman's numbers, you can see with the averages, like Shelton talked about there, with Johnny Wilson and how deep down the field he's catching the ball. You've got to force them to drive. It can't be one or two big plays and they're in scoring range. It's got to be 7, 8 plays. It's got to be 4 to 7 yards of play, not 10 to 15. We've got to keep them in front of us. Now, I also, hearing Shelton talk about some of the stuff he's talked about too, and knowing that some of their data is they do have some struggles, how tough is it going to be? What are we going to have to do? Because I'm one of these. This goes back to the old days of Georgia Tech. I'd rather live by a death from 1,000 cuts and just get bludgeoned real quick. Give me some hope. Give me some hope. Keep the explosive plays away.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, we're going to have our predictions, and let's talk big screeners, which is presented by Prize Picks. Big screeners always presented by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy app where you make entries based on player projected outcomes. Last week, 2 for 2. Sam Laporta over 42.5 yards, and Justin Jefferson with touchdowns. My 2 plays this week, I stick home with my 49ers. George Kittle against the Cowboys, over 39.5 yards. They're going to be worried more about Debo and Ayuk. And Travis Kelce versus the worst passing defense in the league. Get him a touchdown versus the Vikings. Yes, we're trying to get on the Taylor Swift train as well because it brings more viewers. At least that's
why not? Swifties are welcome here.
Prize Picks will match any deposit up to $100 when you sign up using our code BCPicks. Use the QR code right there on the screen if you can see it. If you're not watching YouTube and you're listening to our podcast, use BC Picks or go to boundarycornerbt.com/BT Picks. Last week, Brian and Tally did not have good weeks. Hang your head in shame. Me and Shelton ended up.
I ain't had a good week all year.
Brian 1-4-1, Tally 1-4-1. Shelton leading last week 4-1-1. And I was at 3-2-1. Brian put 3. I thought we had the hook on the Louisville game, the half, which would have gave us some wins, but Brian did not. So it is what it is. So we'll start first.
Caught you a little early.
You did. You called it. Tally, we'll start with you. What's your prediction on the Hokie game? And, since we're doing a point spread, what's the point spread for the Hokie game, Brian, right now? 25? When we picked it, was it 25?
24.
24.
Okay, so Tally, who wins? What's the score? And do the Hokies cover?
I got the Hokies covering in this game. I think I'm right at 42-21, something like that. I got the Hokies covering, but Florida State taking it if you're going money line.
All right, Brian, what about you?
I'm right there with Tally. I've got the Seminoles winning. I got the Hokies covering. I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. I think we're going to get a couple things that go our way. I think we're going to let our nuts hang as a staff and as a team a little bit. Put it all out there because why not? It's FSU. But I think I think it's going to be around a 38-28 win for the Seminoles.
All right, Sheldon, what about you?
Give me the Hokies. I just got a gut feel. They might get a late touchdown, backdoor cover. I'll take the Hokies.
All righty. FSU winning though, right? Or Hokies winning?
Yeah, FSU winning. Yes.
Okay. Let's just.
I'm not that crazy.
I don't want people to be screaming at you next week. You said the Hokies were going to win. Like
we already had that week 1, guys.
We had that week 1. All right. I am with y'all. I think FSU is going to win the game. I've got 41-27, so I do have BT covering. I think it's going to be a more exciting game. I think it's going to be one of those games where going into the fourth quarter, we're going to be down like 10, maybe 14, and they're going to put us away, but we're going to probably spring back and get one additional score to make it look a little bit better than what it should be. This is like a litmus test game, right? You're playing one of the best teams in the country. You're playing in their house. How do you stack up? How do you stack up? I look forward to seeing it 3:30 on Saturday afternoon. And now we've got our big screeners. And I'm leading this one off because it's always – I'm not going to be able to see it because, of course, we've got baseball. But the Red River Shootout, yes, the Red River Shootout. It's always going to be the Red River Shootout, never the Red River Rivalry. Oklahoma, Texas. Texas laying 6.5 points. And I'm going Oklahoma. 49-0 last year. I think it's going to stick in Chris Venable's head. Brian didn't change that shit. I told you change that shit. Pay attention to the text messages. So Oklahoma plus 6.5. I called his ass out. I forgot how bad last year was. That was a 49-0
Okay.
What?
I must have looked at the wrong text, man.
I did see him send that text.
Thank you, Tally. I sent Texas originally. I said, you know what? That blowout last year, that don't sit right. Venables ain't going to let them get blown out again. Oklahoma. It's all right. We can take it out post-editing.
We'll take it out, yep.
Who's got it next? Sheldon. Oh, no. Excuse me. Tally, who you got in this game?
You can move that Texas right over to my name because I got Texas. I got Texas winning and covering in that game.
All right, what about you, Sheldon?
Yeah, give me Texas. I really like their team, man. They keep rising in the metrics. I'm loving Sark, so I'll take Texas.
Well, apparently I went with Curtis unknowingly here because I got the Sooners keeping this closer than I think a lot of people think. I think it's going to come down to one of those last drive deals. So I think they keep it close. About a 3-point win for Texas, so I think they end up winning it outright. But OU going to keep it close there.
All righty. Well, let's next go to Louisville. I think Tally chose this game not only because it's going to be a good game probably, but he's heading there in about a month.
I'm not going anymore.
Oh, what happened?
I just got too much to do, man, and we was horrible at the beginning of the year, so I canceled my room and had to do some other stuff. We got $1,600 just going to baseball for my son.
Okay.
For high school baseball. So I was like, yeah, we need to calm down a little bit.
All right. Well, Tally, what you got here? Notre Dame laying 6.5, a road favorite.
I got Notre Dame, man. I got Notre Dame winning this thing and covering. Again, they played a lot of close games, but I just think that, Louisville they're gonna catch up to Louisville on this one and they're gonna win. And I say they win about 10 points, something like that.
10-point win there. All righty, who's next here? Shelton, who you got in this game?
Yes, I will go Louisville. I think Notre Dame's coming off a very emotional win. They're going to have a little bit of letdown. Give me the Cards to cover.
All righty, who's next here? Brian, you are next on this one.
It's got to be Notre Dame, man. Looking at this team, I know they played a couple close games, but I think Louisville got shown for what they were last week, and I think we're going to see more of that this week. Notre Dame by 14.
That right there is exactly why it's Notre Dame. Lay the 6.5. Louisville got shown a lot. Plummer came tumbling back to earth against NC State, and if NC State had a decent quarterback, they would have beat them by multiple touchdowns. I think Notre Dame, yes, it was. Sheldon, you're right. It was an emotional victory because it was some crazy things that happened at the end of that game against Duke. But I think this is going to be one where, for the first time all year, Notre Dame isn't going to see an opposing defense like the likes of the way Duke's coached to be so sound fundamentally and nowhere near the talent that Ohio State has. All right. Who we got? Brian, you got the next one. You got Maryland and Ohio State. This is a massive line. Ohio State laying 20 points.
Yeah, this is one that I couldn't wait to get on there. Maryland's looks pretty good overall at this point in the season. Ohio State's been kind of up and down. That 20 just was a little too much for me, so give me Maryland to cover here.
All righty. I'm on the opposite side of you. Give me the Buckeyes and lay the 20. I feel like a Maryland defense is going to be a get-right game for Ohio State's offense. And I know Ohio State will give up a few points here and there, but to me, it's good. The usual Maryland show. The first time they have a big competitor, they're gonna wither up in the face of adversity. So give me Ohio State. Tally, who you got on this one?
We got two teams that I both hate, so I wish both of them could lose. But I'm going to take Maryland. I think Maryland's going to lose, but I don't think they're going to lose by more than 20 points. I think it may be a 14-point win for Ohio State, somewhere around 13, 14-point win.
All righty. Sheldon?
Give me the Terps. I think they've got a really good offense. I love what Loxley's doing over there. He's got Josh Gaddis as his OC, who came over from Alabama and Miami. Really good offensive mind. So I'll take Maryland. I just love their offense.
All righty, there we go. And we got a lot of 3-on-1s except for that Texas OU game. Let's go to Sheldon's game of the week. Shelton, you've got Alabama and Texas A&M. Alabama, a small road favorite at 2.5. Who do you got in this one?
I'll take Alabama. Texas A&M without their starting quarterback Wegman, who got injured a little while back. I think Alabama's going to come up with something to prove, so I will take a mad Nick Saban team anytime.
Brian?
Yeah, I'm going Bama here. They're still in desperation mode. They still haven't quite figured it all out, but I think with what's going on at A&M, I think they're going to have just enough to cover that 2.5. We'll see. I'd say about a 6 to 7 point win for the Crimson Tide here.
Yeah, I'm with y'all. Bam, that's a small number to lay, especially with the A&M starting quarterback out. And with A&M, to me, they play two good teams. They beat Auburn, which the way Auburn played against Georgia last week, I'm still trying to figure out that game. And they played Miami, and they got boat race starting in the second quarter to the rest of the game. So Alabama covers. I think they win by like 10+. Tally, what about you?
Yeah, I got Alabama too. I think Alabama's got a similar I don't want to say so. They got a young quarterback. They got a young quarterback that they got to run the right plays for. Alabama fans have been so blessed and spoiled. To have Heisman Trophy after first round pick, after Heisman Trophy, every year that they get a little bit of adversity against a great Texas team, man. Texas beat them by 10 points, and they tried to change it up and then go back to their quarterback, which had a really good week last week. I think they're going to continue. If they continue putting them in the position to be successful, they're going to be hard to beat.
All righty. So those are our 4 big screeners. And the one we always throw in here just for fun. This week, we're going down to Athens between the hedges. Georgia and Kentucky, both undefeated, both ranked in the top 20. Kentucky coming off. They beat the absolute piss out of Florida.
Yeah, they did.
I mean, I walked in and turned that game on after baseball, and it was like 28-3. It was just like, I thought Florida was supposed to be good. Billy Napier getting fired this year. I'm going to go ahead and make that right there. All right, Sheldon. No, Brian, lead us off here. I think it's Georgia 14.5. What do you got?
I've got Kentucky covering this one. I think this is going to be a little bit closer than folks think. I think it's going to be about a 10-point game. I think Georgia's a very, very, very good team, but they're not a blow the doors off a team playing as well as Kentucky is right now type team yet.
I don't think they're that good, but with it being in Athens, I've got to give Georgia the benefit of the doubt. I think they win this game by about 17. I'll lay the 14.5 with Georgia. Tally.
I'm gonna go Kentucky, man. Georgia's been a little suspect, man. With everybody they played, they kind of, just been slipping by. So I think that Georgia, it's going to be similar to the game where they played Auburn this week or last week. Going to be a late touchdown for the win for them. So I think Georgia wins, but they don't cover.
Georgia wins, they don't cover. Sheldon, what about you?
Yes, give me Georgia. Kentucky coming off a big win last week. Georgia coming off a tough, close win last week as well. I think those fortunes are going to reverse, and I'm going to take the Dogs big.
Dogs big in Athens. All righty. Well, That is our big screeners for the week. Again, Prize Picks. Click the QR code so they can match you. Go out, make yourself some money there. Boys, has anything broke? Hey, look, just under an hour and 40 minutes. We did good tonight.
Doing good, man. We ready to roll?
We ready to
There
roll?
we go. It's always good podcasting after a big win like that. So
Man,
everything tastes better. Everything sound better.
It's true.
Man, it's just good to get a win, man.
It's good to get a win. And you know what? It's good to get a win like that, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's the win like that because Tally's been mentioning big losses, small losses, little wins, then big wins.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we jumped up and we went big wins. 17 points. I mean, it was a 14-point game out of the third quarter. I wouldn't consider it a blowout, but winning by 17 against anybody is still good.
And we were dogs in that game.
It could have been a blowout. We were this close to a blowout if we hadn't had that 5-minute fuck up.
Yeah.
5-second fuck up. But, yeah, it's always that good feeling. So,
Oh, yeah.
anything else to add, Shelton, Tally, Brian?
I'm just gonna say, like Curtis said last week, man. Coach had to let his nuts hang on somebody's face, and I'm glad it was Narducci. So, good job, Coach.
Yes, I did say that. Tally wasn't the only one that
hanging
caught
the nuts on the face.
There
was teabaggery in the BCP commentary last week.
If we beat Florida State, I will post that clip everywhere. Curtis, you will be famous.
Listen, I already had like 3 people text me this week. Like, did you say he's laying his nuts on somebody's face? Like, yes, I did. All righty. Well, that is going to wrap up this episode of the Boundary Corner podcast, brought to you by the Main Street Pharmacy in Blacksburg. I am Curtis Wilson.
I'm Brian Siegler.
Jonathan Talley.
And I am Shelton Moss.
Visit our website, boundarycornervt.com, to listen to all of our episodes. Also, check out the merchandise shop, BCP Podcast. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to our YouTube. I know a lot of y'all listen. Keep subscribing and coming back there. All those podcast sources you can think of: Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts. As always, Jason Long plays us in, plays us out. Check him out at jasonlongmusic.com, where you can link to all of his music and see if he's playing live anywhere. He is not this weekend. I don't know what's going on. He must have made a lot of money doing a wedding reception or something the other weekend, so he's going to take it. He's going to take off.
He's drinking some more of that rye, man.
He finished that ride.
Hey,
he might have bet on the Hokies to win.
He can't. He's in Virginia. He doesn't like it either.
But what he is doing is actually not sucking the last 2 weeks. I'm probably jinxing him right now. But he's had a 2-week run of not awful.
Nah, we get Jason's bet every Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday texted to us.
So yeah.
It's always great. Well, listen, we thank you always out there for listening. And as always, let's go.
Hokies.
Hokies.